Getting the facts and giving hot takes. Getting the stats, he never takes breaks. Always there for you. He's like a mesh.
All right, guys, we did it. We're back. 2021 season. This is the Zoe Empire Preview. We've not yet hit week 1, so I'm excited to get the league going again and get these videos going again. So here's my preview to the season. There's a lot of places we could start, but before we get into trades, I actually want to start with the draft day recap because I talked trades with Josh, so I'm actually going to save that for a later spot in this. So draft day recap. This one's I think it's going to end up being short because the truth is it's really hard to know who's good, who's bad. The guys at the top, Jamar Chase and Najee Harris, I think they both look great so far. Most of the quarterbacks have looked really good. I still think Trevor Lawrence is the best quarterback. That really hasn't changed for me. Some people that I've been rising on, I think Waddle is starting to look really good. I would say Trey Sermon, but he already went super early. Williams, who went to Brian at the 6th, see, I don't know if you can call that early. I mean, he's looking like he's going to break out. I think Sermon and Williams will probably be ahead of ETN, I think, by the end of the year. So I would, I guess, at least mention those. It's only one spot back each, so I don't know if I can say that was huge value. Who else? Michael Carter's, when Caleb drafted Michael Carter, I thought it was a running back of the Jets who wasn't going to matter. It looked like Ty Johnson at the time was the starter, and now like 100 things have happened, and somehow Michael Carter looks like he's on top. So good pick from Caleb. Round 1, it's starting to pay off. Round 2, Bateman, if he can get healthy. Terrence Marshall is starting to look good, question mark. I mean, it's Sam Darnold throwing the ball, so I don't know. Stevenson's looked great in the preseason. I wish I could believe. I just don't. I want to, though. Round 3, the last pick of the draft, Tutu Atwell. I think he's actually starting to look pretty good, and I think he could have a little bit of a role there. And Eskridge is more of a Metcalf or Lockett gets hurt, so he could end up being an okay pick as well. So I just want to give some love to some of the players I've seen rising up in rankings and everything. Someone I'm excited to actually see play. He gets overlooked all the time. I think all the other quarterbacks are talked about more, but I really like Zach Wilson. I tried to trade for him a few times. I offered Derek Carr and Ryan Fitzpatrick, trying to package them together to get this young rookie who is a Jets quarterback, so it could be terrible, but I really like Zach Wilson. I like the way he throws the ball. I know that's a weird thing to say. Some people critique him for it. They're like, he makes these baseball throws, blah, blah, blah. It sounds a lot like Mahomes, right? Like Mahomes had all those weird throws and was just kind of slept on in the draft, and then all of a sudden those weird throws are super useful in the NFL, and they're not a liability. So anyway, I'm excited to see Zach Wilson. And that's really all I have on the draft. I mean, I think this will have to be something where maybe we look next year and see, who ended up being a value. But yeah, as for now, it's really hard to tell. This segment, I'm just going to go through some of the trades in the off season. Since February, there were 43 trades. 5 teams were involved with 5 trades or more. So a lot of people, a lot of the same people doing trades over and over again. Some people not so active.
Yeah, definitely you and me. And with those pictures, I'm assuming Cole and Caleb.
Correct.
But
yeah, Cole and Caleb just barely made it too. They both had exactly 5. There was a few teams with 3 or less, but yeah.
Well, who's the 5th?
Not many. Lucas, of course. Lucas has made a ton of trades. So you, me, Lucas. You want to take a guess at who has the 3rd most?
Is it not Cole or Caleb?
No, they both have 5. They're tied at 4th and 5th.
Okay.
Between me, you, and Lucas, you and I are the 3 most traded teams. We've traded around a lot. It's not even close.
I'm probably number 3 then, right?
Yep, you are number 3. You made 14 trades. since February. Now, who's number one, right? Lucas
it's
or
going to
not?
be Lucas. He's made so many terrible trades.
Yeah, you're right. He's made a ton, man. He's made 26 trades. I'm only at 22. I thought you and I would be, honestly, I thought you and I would be the highest. And then I started going through and was like, man, Lucas is in all of these fucking trades. He's done so many trades.
It's crazy how you can take a team that needs some trades and make it better to just trade away everything and have nothing.
Well, he's got a lot of draft picks.
I'll take a hot take right now. Lucas has no trades the rest of the season. Maybe one or less trades the rest of the season.
No, I'll take that bet. Yeah, he's got trade fever, man.
Yeah, who's going to trade him though? What does he have that anyone would ever want?
Well, see, this trade will be better if you and I trading with him doesn't count. Because obviously, I would just make a trade with him to win the bet immediately.
Yeah, but what would? I'll say you can still trade him.
Okay, he'll trade more than once. I guarantee it.
All right.
But yeah, I traded with Lucas 9 times. I traded with you 6 times, and you and Lucas traded 3 times.
I wonder how. Do you have numbers for how many trades that didn't include us?
Oh yeah, no, here it is. Trades involving, not involving me, you, or Lucas. 1 trade. It was a trade between Matt and Cole. That's the one trade that didn't involve one of the 3 of us.
Well, anyone who's listening needs to know who they need to come to for trades.
I mean, there's only 3 spots, right? It's pretty rare.
Lucas is fresh out of players, so
I don't even think it's that we have like great trade offers. I think it's just we're the most active and at least trying. Although yeah. I know that Joe tries to trade all the time. It's crazy to me that he just hasn't even gotten 5 trades since February. But he has to have submitted. I think like if you just went off submissions, there's no way for me to track that. But
yeah.
if it was just off submissions, I think Joe would be probably
he sends 20,000 garbage trades a day.
Top 5 submitted.
Yeah, it only takes one to bite, though, I guess. I don't know.
It does, which brings us to the best trades, which happens to also be the worst trade. Because if it's the best for one person, it's probably the worst for someone else. I don't know if there's one that stands out in your mind in this offseason. I've just put together some that I thought looked pretty bad. But I guess there's always some bias involved, and you never know what's going to happen. But the first 2 I'll submit, if you will, to this are Damian Harris for a 2nd-round draft pick. So Lucas received the 2nd-round draft pick. Jason Brownus received Damian Harris. Seems pretty one-sided, at least right now to me. I think, I hate to say it makes me want to throw up, but I think Jason probably makes the playoffs. So that's not a high-end 2nd-round pick.
It's not just a 2nd-round draft pick. It's a 2024 2nd-round draft pick.
Yeah, good. That is, I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah. It's a 2nd-round draft pick forever away for Damian Harris.
3 years away for Damian Harris now, the starting running back for New England.
It's not all bad, though. This is I think, great trade for Lucas. He gets 2 second rounds and a 3rd round. So a 2022 second, a 23 second, and a 24 third. So a draft pick for the next 3 years for Michael Pittman.
Yeah.
So, I mean, 3 picks for Pittman, who I think's a bust. But I know he's a lot of people's like sleepers and stuff, so I won't get on a tangent with Pittman, who I think's bad. But I think that's a pretty good trade in Lucas's favor. I feel like some of these are pretty. You can tell with some of these
are
trades
immediately good or bad.
Right. So Joe gets a 1st and 23 and another 1st and 23 for 1 1st and 22. So he trades 1 1st-round pick and gets 2 1st-round draft picks.
I wish I knew whose those were, but
Team 10 and Team 1, I have no idea. I think one of those is mine, and I don't know who the Team 10 is.
Yep. Easily a terrible trade for Lucas, who had been pooling 1st-round picks.
I will say in his defense, or maybe you look at this as an even bigger blunder, I believe he thought he was receiving a 1st-round draft pick and giving 2 2nd-round draft picks.
I just see a lot of 1s on that list. I don't see a 2 on there.
Oversight either. Yeah, I don't know. Here's another one. I don't even remember who this is with. Lucas gets a 1st round and he gives up a 2nd, a 3rd, a 2nd, a 3rd, a 3rd, and Oliver. I don't know.
Just so much
right.
garbage.
It's a lot. So I think this is with Caleb. So it's Caleb's first round draft pick for all of those seconds and thirds, a lot of which were good ones. I don't know. That's hard to tell. So I don't think that'll be a contender for the last one. But
no, I think that's a bad trade on Lucas.
here's a terrible one. This is maybe my favorite one. Wentz, Everett, a first and a second for Jameis Winston.
Yeah, that's probably my favorite too.
Vince got quite a haul for Wentz. Do you think going into this offseason, Vince thought he was going to walk away with Wentz, Everett, a first, and a second for Jameis Winston?
I wouldn't give a third for Jameis Winston, so no.
I would maybe give a third. Maybe. That's a fair trade. A third for Winston. Not a first, a second, Wentz, and Everett. And I don't know who's going to start, but even if Winston starts, terrible trade, I think.
Yeah.
Not a great.
He's not even probably going to be the starter.
I know. And that's the one I think that is the best trade Vince receiving.
Yeah, no, that's a good capitalization on Vince.
In my opinion, yeah, that is the absolute best trade. I think it's clear to see even now, even if Winston doesn't start and Winston does, he got a first and a second Everett for Winston. Like that just I feel like we can tell now and declare this the best trade.
Hands down.
Two first round picks in 23 for a 22nd first. I'll assume that would be my runner up. I think it was a mistake, so whatever. But
I guess it's true. Nothing good happens after 2 a.m. 2:10.
2:10 a.m. Yeah. These all happen late.
Well, looks like all of Lucas's trades happened right then. But
that's when he does his thinking. So I wanted to at least shout out some of these big trades. They couldn't be on best trades because there wasn't a clear loser, but I think that's a sign of a good trade. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I did think I'm not here to suck your team's dick any more than it already will be throughout the video because you have a pretty good team, your previous championship, but basically turning Fields, Swift, and a couple of first for Kamara really helps your starting roster. So I just want to have both those trades up here showing the change. You paid a lot, so if you don't win this year, I do think you've traded away some future with Swift and all those first, but yeah, it looks good looking at your team right now. Looking pretty good.
Oh, I agree. Obviously, I made him. Swift. Who gives a shit about Swift? He's on the Lions who are going to do shit. Worst team.
And he's a little banged up already.
A little hurt.
You don't need Fields. You have Mahomes.
Don't need Fields. I don't plan on losing this year, so what are those first rounders worth to me? Nothing.
Yeah, there'd be late first rounders either way. So yeah, I think it was a good trade, obviously. Or these combined, and then I have mine here. This is a lot of retooling, but I dumped off Derrick Henry, Drake, Claypool, Moore. This is me just kind of rearranging my team. I think they were good for the people I gave them to, and I think they were good for me too. So
yeah,
these were some of the I guess I would call them juicy trades.
Yeah, big names being moved around.
A lot of big names being moved around. I liked it. This segment I'm calling America's favorite segment, League Comparison. I have with me Caleb Brondos.
Hey.
And Thomas Peterson, my co-owner.
What's up?
And we're just going to go through some of these shows and movies and kind of say who we see as each character. So we'll start it off with the first one, Lord of the Rings. Okay. So I'll start off with some of the ones I have, and you guys can offer a better example, like a better fit, or you can offer, whatever your thoughts are on it. So to start it off, and maybe I'm a little biased here. I have myself as Samwise and Thomas as Frodo. And of course, I view Thomas and I's team as the one actually trying to stop Josh, who we'll get to later on this list. But I put for the reason we're working to save the league. Maybe we're not the best fighters. Maybe we're not the best team, but we have a whole lot of heart. So it's I felt like it was a good comparison to have Thomas and I as Sam and Frodo.
Yeah,
I
and
mean-
I think I think also, like Frodo kind of succumbs to the ring and kind of like almost fails in a way, and then Samwise like carries him, and I'm thinking like you carry our team since I don't know what I'm doing.
I'll get us over the finish line. I will say Sam gets all the credit for like being the guy that's the true hero, but I mean Frodo is carrying the weight as well. He's literally wearing the ring. So yeah, that's I feel like that's a easy one. I don't know if you guys can think of anyone better for Sam and Frodo, but I thought that was low hanging fruit to me.
I mean, it's fitting. You guys are a duo. I don't like it, but I can see it.
All right, so Gandalf, I put Matt Erdman. He's helping protect the realm or the Empire. Kind of an oddball sometimes. Doesn't really fit in perfectly. Has a powerful team, or Gandalf has powerful spells.
Sometimes leaves for long lengths of time. We
Yeah.
don't know what he's doing, and then comes back,
Can disappear.
saves the day.
Barkley died last year, and we thought that it was over, and then Matt still comes out with a good team and makes the playoffs. Like, I don't know, it seemed very Gandalf. He seemed like the Gandalf choice to me.
In the background, he's making us all money. I don't know.
Yeah, he seems.
I'm just surprised
seems
that
wise.
Andrew would pick him for that since he's like your arch nemesis.
No. First off, not my arch nemesis. I like to think of us as friends, and yeah, no, I'm not. I'm trying to take my own bias out of here. But yeah, I think he's a Gandalf. There's a lot of characters, right? So there's a lot of different people he could have been. I could have made him Wormtongue, sure, but at the end of the day, I felt like Gandalf felt right.
Who is Wormtongue? Do we have one?
I almost made Lucas Wormtongue, and we might as well jump to it right now. I made Josh Saruman. So, not Saruman, because we thought he was our friend, and now he's the one that's going to try to end it all, right? He's going to destroy the League, just like Saruman like turned on everyone and is trying to just destroy Middle Earth, right? So I made Josh Saruman, and Wormtongue would have been nice, but I didn't
Who's
pick
the
one.
ultimate evil here, then? Like
Josh.
Saruman, okay. But is there a Sauron? Is there what are we trying to stop?
Right. See,
we're trying to stop Josh.
I just viewed Sauron as like the end of the League. I didn't pick a single a person for it. You could say Josh.
Fair.
You could say Josh. This was just how I wrote it out. But let's get to Caleb since he's on the call here. I have you as Boromir.
I mean, I get the reference.
I put reason betrayed us all with the Mixon trade, but still loved. Still a beloved character, but I felt betrayed.
To be honest, it is pretty accurate because Boromir thought he was doing good. Let's be honest here. I still think that I did the right thing, and it could work out, but it also may kill me in the end with a few arrows in my chest.
What a Boromir answer. So
it was 3 first-round draft picks for one player. I'm just saying.
Speaking of Lurtz,
two tempted to get power to use against your enemies.
Right. Speaking of Lurtz, the Urukai, I made that Brian, and I wrote, we know he's not going to win, but he could take someone out. He could take out a contender with his team, right? So I don't think he has a chance of winning really, but he just like Lurtz, the Urukai, he took out a main member. He could take someone out of the playoffs. So that's why I ended up making him Lurtz. Brandon, I made Eomer. I say horse guy you forgot was there. So seems like a perfect Brandon pick. Mary and Pippin, Mike and Vince. Trying hard but not too hard. That's what I wrote for them. So it's like a lesser version of Sam and Frodo. They're there, they're trying, but I don't think they work too hard at it.
I mean, Vince seems like he's trying a little harder than others.
Well,
I mean, who stabbed the Witch King in it? Was that Mary?
Yeah, well, that was Pippin. That was Pippin.
So maybe we switch those two.
Make Vince Pippin instead of Mary. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, Pippin's the one always screwing up, I think. So.
But then he tries harder later.
No, wait. I think that is Mary. Because Mary wrote in with the Rohirrim. No, I think you have it right. Because Pippin was just in the Citadel.
I will fact check it and put it up here as this plays.
I'm pretty sure that's right.
Legolas, I made Joe.
Yeah, he does.
Did
he have long hair at once?
Yeah, overconfident but deadly. I think Joe does a lot of crap talking. Feels like he's number one. I don't know if he actually is. He acts like it. And I will admit that I do have him as a top team. I would say he's a top 3 team even. So I put overconfident but deadly. Seems very Legolas. So Gimli, I made Jason Brondos. I wrote the unlikely hero. That would be my nemesis. I don't like Jason, but his team is in a position to possibly stop Thomas. I feel like he's one of the few people trying. I feel like everyone's building these long-term teams, and no one's building a monster team to try to stop Josh this year. I feel like.
Well, look, there's always going to be a winner that we have to stop each year. So
Yeah.
If you're trying to focus on that each year and be really short-term, like that's fine, but that's not how I'm going to run my team.
Well, I'm just looking at this year because there is no more league. If Josh wins.
Whoever wins next year, you could say the same thing.
I will. I'll say it again next year. Hopefully, there's a league to say it about. But I just feel like for this year, going into this season, Jason and I are like the 2 teams I feel like that have gotten a lot better over the offseason, are positioned well to try to stop Josh. Hopefully, it's enough. And then Lucas, I made Gollum. And the reason I put was helping us, ? I don't know if he's helping Josh or he's helping me. I mean, from all of his trades, I don't know who it ends up benefit the most. I think he's helping us. So it's an uneasy alliance with me, as Frodo and Sam with Thomas here. I think he's helping our team. So I think he's leading us towards, the volcano to throw the ring into. So we'll see.
But at the end of the day, he's probably just in it for himself.
He might be. Yeah, who knows his reasons. So that's why he's Gollum in this one. Yeah, we'll move on to the next one that hopefully more people know these people.
Yes.
I've tried to sprinkle in shows that everyone would know, but then every once in a while throw in just one that I really like. So, but Star Trek Next Generation. I just love this show. This is my favorite Star Trek by far.
Same.
And I watch it all the time. This is like my comfort food. I watch this like when I go to bed all the time. So I'm constantly working through seasons of this. So where do you want to start here? I guess we can start with Jean-Luc Picard, right, the captain, and I actually have it as Caleb.
Oh,
and
what an honor!
I sat around for a long time thinking, I think people are fine with me running the league as commissioner. But if it came down to like us on a ship and one of us has to be in charge, I feel like it would come down to like Caleb and Cole would just turn it down. He would want no business running the ship.
He'd be like Riker.
Yeah. So I think Cole doesn't want that type of spotlight. So I think it would come down to Caleb. Caleb's likable enough. He's going to make some rash decisions probably, but I think he'll carry himself in a captain-like persona, and he'll lead us. So I think Caleb would end up being Jean-Luc.
Hey man, I can't argue with that.
And if you're
it's 100% true.
If you're Jean-Luc, then your right-hand man has to be Matt as Riker. So I put handsome and confident. Probably needs to be put in his place. Riker oversteps himself a little bit every now and then, but it's got to be your trusted partner. It's got to be Matt, I think.
That's true. I mean, I would say he also trusts Data quite a bit as well and fights for him. But I don't know. I think Riker's probably a little bit more accurate.
Yeah, as Data, I put Josh, and I put heartless monster who may kill all of us at any moment.
Data is not a heartless monster.
He tries to pretend he cares. If you're trying to pretend you care, I feel like that implies you don't normally. So, I don't know. He's super strong.
I mean,
he could just go on a rampage.
Josh is Q.
I put Joe as Q. I feel like Joe, with all the trades he sends, is kind of like the troll of the league. Yeah, troll but powerful. He's kind of like a troll team, like sending these troll trades, but he gets those trades every now and then. It only takes one to hit, and his team's really good.
Or Josh could be the Borg, just
in general.
In general. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
You must assimilate. He's trying to ruin.
I put Thomas
entire
as
world.
Tasha Yar, and I don't know if anyone remembers Tasha Yar.
I remember Tasha Yar.
Yeah, I put underrated character to the show / league, and then they just died, and they were gone. They were like this main character and like really important part of the show, and then she ends up dying, and then she's just out of the show.
I mean, I visit the Thomas Memorial every year and then.
Yeah. Yep, just like in the show.
I like a nice nice few words to for his departure.
I put Vince as Guinan. Non-threatening and friendly for the most part. I can always go to Vince for just life advice in general.
Or like even just real football advice.
Yeah.
Maybe not fantasy football advice, but real football. I think Vince has it.
Me too. I think Vince is a football guy first and fantasy guy second. And he loves real football. That's where his first love is. I put Brandon as Spock. I said, yep, he is in the show as well. You forgot, didn't you? Spock's actually in Next Generation. Geordie LaForge, I put as Cole. I think he's like a smart contender in this league. He should be considered like one of the like players in contention this year. You know, just a solid all-around guy. So, Geordie. I hate this one so much, but I feel like it did fit. I put Jason Brandos as Wesley Crusher. He has a lot of young up-and-coming players. And then I put Child Prodigy who doesn't live up to his potential. That's the reasoning. But, yeah, I do think that was a pretty good fit for your brother.
And we have to get to you. I don't know that you're a mind reader, but as Deanna Troy, do you have a crush on Riker?
Deanna Troy definitely does. I do think Andrew the person thinks Matt is a good-looking man. That won't blind me in a trade, but I mean he is a good-looking man.
I think if I remember correctly, he's the wallpaper on your phone, isn't he?
That's private. We'll edit that out later.
The question is, do you hear music in your sleep, and it keeps you up at night? Deep cut. No, that's the thing Deanna does.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it, so I don't know.
You've never seen any Next Generation?
I mean, I'm sure I've seen it like on TV at some point or another.
Oh man, it's such a long series that I'm literally just always watching it. I'm always at some point in Next Generation watching the show, and by the time I get to the end, it'll take me like 2 years. Then I'll start over because I'll miss the early stages of it. It's continuous.
Well, maybe after The West Wing, I'll pick it up.
Oh
yeah.
I love the West Wing. I would love to do one of these. I feel like Thomas, you and I are probably the only people that have seen the show.
I've seen West Wing.
Okay, well there you go. We can do that'll be our deep cut one, like The Wire, where probably no one knows any of the characters, but I just like it so much. The last segment I wanted to do with you guys, if you could help me. This is a new segment called Hot Takes with Hot Men. And when I'm able to do it in person, I would be in a hot tub with Thomas, so it can be hot takes with hot men in hot tubs. But yeah, this is more hot takes just in the sense of how you feel about a player that's different from the like mainstream view of that player, right? So I don't know if you guys have any players in mind for it, but I have a few that I wrote down, but I'll let one of you start if you want to, or I can start when you think of someone.
Wait, say that one more time.
So like these hot takes, it's just like if you have a view on someone that's different from the normal view, a player. So it can be positive or negative. Like for example, I'll start off. I have Josh Jacobs, who Thomas and it's our RB1. Yes, he's still our RB1 over Najee. I just think everyone's so low on him, and I don't think his workload's going to go down because of Drake. He's averaged 250 carries his first 2 years, each year. His rookie year was a little under. Last year was way over. He's over 1,000 yards 2 years in a row. And that's even with like the 3.5 games he missed last season. 53 total receptions in the first 2 years, but I think it's trending upwards. And I know the O-line is ranked like 26th going into this year, but I think they're actually a really good running O-line. The rookie right tackle they had, Alex Leatherwood, I think he's really good. They got the bully Incognito back at left guard, and they lost their center. That's why everyone's so low on them. And I don't know. I don't think that's going to matter too much for the run. I think that messes up more like in the passing game. So I think people are low on Josh Jacobs, and he's going to be really good.
I guess my hot take, I think that Drew Lock is going to be a top fantasy quarterback this year.
Man, really?
Yeah, I mean, if you think about like last year, there was a new coaching staff. They had like no off-season program. He was essentially a rookie quarterback. He was injured because of COVID, I believe. And even with all of that, he still finished averaging like 15 points a game,
which is terrible.
Right. But I mean, consider all of that previous stuff, and then this year he'll have Cortland Sutton, back, as well as like some other good players. So I think that could be a surprise. It wouldn't be a hot take if it was obvious, right?
It is a hot take. Yeah, no, it's a hot take. He has all the weapons. He has Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, Noah Fant, that rookie running back they got looks good.
Devontae Williams,
Melvin Gordon's already there.
Hamler.
But I just think Drew Lock's like, he's one of those quarterbacks I see and immediately he fails the eye test and I just know he's terrible. It's like the first time I watched Trubisky throw. It's just like he's not good. And I just see Drew Lock with all the weapons he had and just do so bad. I just have no confidence in him. You made a lot of good points. I mean, I get it. A lot of times quarterbacks year two in an offense improve. At least that's what I'm constantly hearing every offseason. I never keep track if that's actually true or not. But yeah, good hot take, Thomas. That is a hot take. I thought you were going to say Barkley.
Yeah.
Did you have one, Caleb?
Man, I'll be honest, I don't.
Well, I want to speak about someone on your team then that I have a pretty hot take about.
Let's do it.
Michael Pittman.
Ooh, yeah.
Wide receiver.
He's going to pop off, my friend.
Actually, this is a hot take because I think he's a piece of shit. I think his personality is a fucking joke. I like watch him. I don't know if you've ever watched it since you own him. You should. He does like a streaming like show where he just goes about his day and like records himself. And like the last preseason game, he's like, yeah, I'm not going to play today. We got pretty rough in the last 2 practices. And I'm going to let the young people play. It's his second year. He did terrible.
Like I said, I'm not playing today because we had 2 very, very physical days of a joint practice. So it's going to be a time for some of the younger guys. And I'm just excited for them. I'm excited to watch them make plays today. I've seen all their hard work.
When Wentz came, he wouldn't even give Wentz his number. He's like, no, I need this number. I earned it. It's like, come on, man. I cannot stand him. Like they drafted him to be this like big touchdown guy, like in the end zone, and we don't use people like that. Like here's the end zone target rankings for the Colts: Zach Pascal, Hines, Hilton, then Pittman with 9 targets, Doyle, Mo Alley Cox. Like it's all running backs and tight ends down there. We don't really throw it to wide receivers, so like I don't know, man. He looks so. I think Pascal, who was behind him, looked way better than him.
Does that change though with Wentz?
No
Quarterback.
No, it doesn't. That's part of my argument against Pittman. It's all the arguments for him this year are all the same things that were true last year. The only thing different is that it's year 2 and he's going to take this huge leap. But even if he doubled his stats last year, he would still be garbage. Here's Pascal, who was behind him, right? He was not a starter. He just got to be used in rare situations, right? 44 receptions, 629 yards, 5 touchdowns. Pittman, who was out there like all the time last year, 40 catches, less, 503 yards, less, 1 touchdown. And that touchdown, which was like a fifth of his total yards that year, was just a broken play. That's just a lucky he breaks it, gets open. I'm sure you can find it. Search Pittman NFL touchdown. It's the only one he's ever had.
Well, I don't think second year needs to be, but the third year needs to be a breakout.
Well, this is his second year, so
Yeah, so
All
I'm
the-
willing to wait another year.
look, I get it. Colts have a good O line. I know Nelson's going to miss a few games or whatever, but Wentz could be good now that he's back with Frank Reich. I do think T.Y. Hilton's like pretty much done, so like Pittman can just step up now. All this opportunity, I hate it. I don't like him. And he's on the Colts, my team. I love the Colts. I just don't like him. I don't know if it's his videos or what, but I'm just not a believer in Pittman. Clearly. That's my hot take. And I've made water bets about Pittman, and Josh Jacobs, so I'm gonna eat crap if I'm wrong on both of these. Because I've talked so much Pittman smack, and it's scary because I know wide receivers get better year two, right? And the opportunity really is there. So I could very easily like be completely wrong, but I'm doing a hot take, so there's my hot take. But yeah, I never thought Thomas would have more hot takes than Caleb. Caleb's just Mr. Average opinion across the board on players.
I mean, yeah. Honestly, I haven't. When we don't have to redraft, I have not paid a lot more attention to. I pay attention to the rookies, and then I just let it go. Once the season starts, then I'm going to start making more opinions. But there's not much I can do in the off season other than trade.
Well, yeah, you got to take a guess at it or whatever. Are there
True.
any rookies that have come out this year? Like I know you have Michael Carter. Do you believe?
I believe. I'm a believer. I have to be based on my draft position, but I'm happy that he fell to me there.
Yeah, and you ended up getting Fields, who's looked good.
Yeah.
Through trade, so yeah.
I finally have somebody on the Bears that I believe in. Tariq Cohen. I mean, he'd be nice if he pops off, but I don't think it's going to happen.
No, man, it's the Damon Williams show. My boy. But all right, yeah, we can end it here. So thanks for coming on, and I'll snip this up and I'll get it on the video.
Sweet.
Here's to see who agrees with me.
I'm sure everyone. Thomas loves Drew Lock. No one forget that. I'm gonna remind people weekly of the Drew Lock
I'm not
watch.
saying he's going to be the best, just like top 12.
Yep, top 12.
Okay.
Here first.
Later, guys.
Okay, so here's my rankings. I did it a little different this year. Instead of a 1 to 12, I wanted to do tier-based ranking. This is definitely affected by our league because it's really obvious who's at the top and who's at the bottom, right? So I didn't even know where to start on this, what order to go in. Clearly, Josh, your team is on top. I put it at S.
Yeah, I'm just glad that you're just like, yeah, don't even really need to crunch the numbers. Yeah, that's where I'm at.
Oh, numbers are still crunched. Numbers are still crunched on this. I will say, well, we have a second here, I guess. The numbers. I look at projections, but there's also like a level of bias involved too, right? I'm going through the starting lineups. I'm looking how I think they're going to perform. I'll have some consideration of depth, especially if they have a lot of like really interesting depth pieces or lack of depth and things like that. But it's definitely a level of bias to it. But I think most people would agree in the league, if we did a poll, your team is at top and Lucas' team is unfortunately at the bottom.
I don't think anyone can argue that.
He came in, he's new to the league this year.
Really showed us what he knew.
Took Thomas's team and I think very early on committed to a rebuild. So it's going to look bad. You know, when you like your team, the Lions, you come in, you get rid of Galladay, you get rid of Stafford, you get rid of everything that made your team good, and you just go with a full on rebuild, right? But yeah, Lucas full rebuild, so it's gonna look ugly. But we don't have to get into a whole conversation on Lucas's rebuild strategy, but I decided to start from the bottom and work my way up from this point. We can take a look at E tier, first tier, and that's actually empty. And I don't want to keep piling it on Lucas, but there's just that is just a void. There's no team there in the E, and we go straight to D.
Like Lucas can dream to be an E one day.
He could move up. He could move up to E if he like works his way to his starting roster, and then from there he'd still be worse than the D rank, but he has room to improve. That's a good way to look at it. He's got room to improve.
Yeah.
But I have Brian and Brandon down here, and how I'm ranking them, looking at this tier, is from left is better, and then going to the right. So I think Brian's team's a little better than Brandon if I have to compare these teams. But Brandon's team, thankfully for him, Rogers is still playing, and he's holding on. Brandon still has a starting lineup. It's still an okay team. They both.
Brandon's team's still pretty good.
Yeah, he's still pretty. That's why there's a whole tier in between him and Lucas. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there's a big gap between where their teams are at and where Lucas's team's at, which is, he has non-starting running backs as his RB1 and 2.
Yeah.
So these are legit teams. Something crazy. They could have some breakouts and all of a sudden they shoot up and make the playoffs. Lucas could have like 2 legit stars break out, and I still wouldn't think he could make the playoffs because there's just so much to rebuild right now. His
Such a hole.
It's a full rebuild. Any guesses at C rank here?
Vince.
Oh yeah, Vince, and I feel like I do this to Caleb all the time.
No respect for Caleb.
But I have Caleb down here as well, and I think Vince's team is actually really good. I think it's an interesting team. I'll pull up some of his players here just to give a shout out.
Vince is a solid wide receiver base.
He has Terry McLaurin and DJ Moore and Ridley, such an awesome wide receiver core. And Montgomery and Carson, I mean, that's 2 good running backs plus Henderson if Henderson's good. Vince has a solid team, and he's still in C tier. You know what I mean? Versus Caleb's team, I kind of worry about. I don't know.
Every time you worry about Caleb, he's the champion. So.
Exactly. That's what I was gonna say. Like that's why I did tier, and it would be very easy for Caleb to jump into the playoffs and go on a run like he has many a times. But Caleb's coming out with Carter and Mike Davis as his running backs. I would be a little concerned. He's starting Corey Davis. Does that sound like a championship roster? It could be, but you know what I mean? Like he could manage his way. I have no doubt in his managing skills, but just looking at the teams and like how I view them, that's why he's at the bottom of C tier for me.
Yeah.
All right, the next tier, this is the big tier, right? This is where I think the competition's pretty good, and I think this B tier I have here but they've just managed to have slightly better, or in my case, much better, right? Teams than this C and D tier. These are all completely full rosters. Even the flex guys look pretty good. They're not starting nobodies. I feel like these are solid teams. None of them would surprise me to make the playoffs. That being said, like B, C, and D, it's going to be a fight between these 8 teams to see who can actually sneak into the playoffs. Only out of these 8 teams, only 4 of us are going to make it, right? If I had to pick today, it'd be this B tier, but that's where the fight in this league is going to be, right in this area. But just to list them off, I have myself, I have Mike, I hate to say it, but Jason Brondos, and I also have Matt. But all right, so yeah, in the B tier, any of the teams you wanna look at or shout out to?
Like I said, we could do Mike, but his team is 90% Cowboys players, so if the Cowboys do well, Mike will do well.
Yeah, I mean, I do feel like his team has people even outside. I mean, obviously has Dak Prescott, Elliott, Gallup,
Jefferson.
Gallup's the one I worry about, right?
Yeah.
He has Aaron Jones and Galladay. They're both like high risk, high reward type people. Like, okay, how much is it a split backfield? Do they try to limit Jones? Galladay, I have concerns about because Daniels is terrible.
A lot of people have Aaron Jones, easy top 5.
Yeah, I know, but like, who's the backup there? AJ Dillon. And he's a beast. And yeah, he has Jefferson, Chenault. He has Kyle Pitts. I don't know how great he does, year 1, but yeah, I mean, Mike has a really good team. There's a reason he is B ranked here, but I think Elliott and Prescott, I'd feel fine starting every week. Gallup's the only one I would maybe be worried about. We'll see how it actually ends up, playing out.
Yeah, I agree.
But yeah,
Yeah.
it's a legit team. So then, obviously, Tier A, if you haven't guessed by now, Joe and Cole. I
Yeah.
probably would have had Cole above Joe. Or like,
Had he not made that trade?
I don't want to say just that trade, but he also traded with me. He traded for a younger, long-term, better team. But this is a tier based looking at this season, not
Yeah.
how these teams are going to be years later. Like, I will say, Jason Brandos has a really good and young team, right? Like, I think his team, if we don't reset this year, he's going to be super dangerous next year. So Jason has a really good team. But this is looking purely at this season. Then obviously your team at the top there.
Obviously. Yeah. No. Unfortunately, the Cole and Jason, I got to play them twice. So, yeah.
Yeah.
There's a good chance I could lose all those games and not even make the playoffs. Just some bad luck.
Yeah, I mean, Joe didn't even have McCaffrey last year, and he still balled out.
Yeah.
He is the most wins of the league. Like, of the last 2 years, no one's won more than him.
Didn't win the ones that mattered, though. And
he does have, deceivingly more depth than you might think. Like, you might laugh at McKissick and Fournette and Jamal Williams, but, they put up points. Aguilar's on his bench. Slayton's on his bench. Like, he's got people, so I don't know. Really strong starting lineup, though. That's why he's up so high. Yeah.
Yep. It's unfortunate. You could just drop all these people down one and then leave the A gap,
No, I do think Joe and Cole are
they're close.
not nipping at your heels, but they're right there. If you lost Cooks today, Dalvin Cooks, you would still be S, but it would be really close, right? So they're close. They're within a player, and I will say, because we're looking at tier basing, if we were doing this on a 1 to 100 scale, we call your team at the top 100, and we call Lucas's team a 0. I think even the D tier here is at somewhere above a 51.
Yeah.
So I think everyone's closer to the top than they are towards the bottom.
And Lucas is the bottom. It's the main point of this list.
I will say, when we started just 2 seasons ago, there were so many teams that didn't even have a flex player. It was crazy. When I went through and made these top 6, it was oh, these people don't even have flex guys. I'm not going to put them as a top team or whatever. Now everyone does. Everyone's had time to fill out a starting lineup where almost everyone except Lucas's team, which obviously has a way to go. Well, so I'll just run it from top to bottom. Josh, Joe, Cole, myself, Mike, Jason Brandos, Matt Erdman, Vince, Caleb, Brian, Brandon, and then Lucas. So for people listening, that's the final order. If you have to do it 1 through 12, which I don't like doing, but yeah. So that's the rankings.
I agree.
All right, guys. Well, that's the show. Thanks for joining us. Sorry it's a little too long. I try to keep these, around 20 minutes or under 30 for sure. So this one went long, but there's a lot to say in the preview, and I feel like it easily could have gone another hour. So I'll hope to get more guests in the future episodes, and that'll do it for this one. Thanks, guys.